The Astral Command Institute held a unique position in the galactic consciousness, akin to an exquisitely painful headache on the eternally idyllic Serenitas Prime, where gravity barely murmured at 06 a.m., and the air was thick with vanilla and the bitter tang of unrealized potential. The Academy was the apex of sophisticated combat instruction, where 17 distinct species mastered the fine art of interspecies conflict, all with impeccable manners and meticulous documentation. The sagacious founders had selected Serenitas Prime precisely because it was a haven of tranquility, where the most assertive indigenous life form resolved disputes through performance art. This serene setting proved ideal for cultivating the galaxy's next generation of strategic commanders. Comment "I'm ready" if you believe one cadet could challenge an entire system built for perfection. Presuming those commanders would exclusively wage conflicts against mildly disgruntled ballet aficionados, the Academy itself expanded across radiant pinnacles and ethereal gardens, embodying the outcome when defense spending encountered architectural vanity. Every structure showcased a distinct species' aesthetic preferences, crafting a horizon that resembled a panel of inebriated artisans granted limitless funds and contradictory guidelines. The Valerian Tower ascended with breathtaking grace, its azure-tinted facades mirroring the binary suns in designs that allegedly triggered profound reflection. The luminous hierarchs unveiled a geometric horror that assaulted the eyes, while the Gossamer Collective presented an artifact of frozen murmurs and centuries of remorse. For 300 years, this citadel of interspecies harmony had safeguarded its prestige via rigorous vetting, admitting only elite individuals from esteemed bloodlines, their ancestry meticulously mapped for generations to guarantee superior genetics and suitable degrees of refined assertiveness. The Institute's creed, etched in 17 tongues across, the Grand Gateway declared, "Strength in unity, triumph through honor," though local lingo translated it as, "Try not to humiliate your home planet too much." Thus, Cassandra Thornfield's arrival became an ironic twist of fate. She disembarked the shuttle with calculated grace, mindful that her usual gait might propel her through windows on lighter worlds. Standing just under 5'6", her physique hinted at evolution's dedicated effort. Enhanced for aggression, her powerful shoulders supported the burden of unmet expectations, her hands rough with the dedication of forcing submission from the unyielding. Crimson hair, absorbing light like a black hole, was bound in a severe bun declaring, "Aesthetics are irrelevant." Her storm-cloud eyes, mirroring a vengeful sea, scanned. Traversing the Academy's expanse, her gaze meticulously assessed every object as a potential weapon or escape path. She exuded the composed vigilance of a predator casually observing a harmless menagerie. Fellow cadets instinctively avoided her, their expressions universally signaling that she was an outsider. The Valerian aristocracy, clad in customary azure robes, congregated, their lithe figures and fluid gestures resembling dancers, misplaced in an unfamiliar setting. Their murmurs were melodious, mastery of their primal tongue, though furtive glances toward Cass hinted at a discordant subject. The Diamond Hierarchs upheld their species' reputation for emotional frigidity, their lucid forms scattering sunlight into breathtaking, kaleidoscopic displays, marred only by the palpable disapproval radiating from their collective presence, each aligned with geometric precision, forging patterns imbued with profound cultural meaning, undoubtedly. Surrounding organisms reeled from headaches as delegates of the ethereal concordium glided in specialized biosuits, their real forms hinted at only through spectral silhouettes behind active concealment. Their communication, a symphony of infrasonic resonance, made the atmosphere itself tremble. Their shared focus felt like being scrutinized by an exceptionally critical nebula. Amidst this assembly of celestial elites, Cass stood out like a demolition derby at a garden fete. Her Regulation Academy attire, standard for all trainees, somehow radiated a different aura on her. Others donned the deep blue fabric with ceremonial dignity. She wore it like impenetrable armor, each seam and fold whispering readiness for immediate, decisive action. The uniform's designers had clearly never envisioned accommodating the compact musculature of a species forged under extreme gravity while evading predators who considered sapiens a mere delicacy. "Greetings, cadets," declared Commander Thelix, the Astral Command Institute's orientation officer. The Valerian's voice possessed the polished cadence of someone who had never been compelled to raise it above a murmur to command attention. Experience the true sounds of battle as you delve into the revered customs of refined warfare. Discover the strategic doctrines that have championed intergalactic harmony for 4 centuries, and the diplomatic etiquette distinguishing us from the brutal clashes of bygone eras. His pointed stare at Cass conveyed his message with unmistakable clarity. Her answering smile mirrored the chilling emptiness of the cosmos. The introductory tour commenced with the conventional showcase of awe-inspiring data and landmark accomplishments. The Academy had cultivated 12,000-plus officers, propelling them to stellar careers throughout numerous military entities. Its staff showcased iconic strategists whose groundbreaking tactical advancements were thoroughly analyzed galaxy-wide. Its archives housed exhaustive military chronicles from all documented civilizations, meticulously curated to exclude excessively savage strategies unsuitable for refined analysis. Our syllabus prioritizes the cerebral dimensions of military command, Commander Tillix elucidated while traversing the Strategic Research Wing. Center, where holographic displays presented renowned battles with sterile precision. We assert that genuine triumph stems from strategic foresight, transcending brute force. Several cadets concurred. Cass scrutinized the battle simulations, her expression mirroring one deciphering an unfamiliar script. The celebrated Xerion's Gate engagement was depicted as a tactical symphony, showcasing impeccable formations, a stark contrast to the brutal carnage that transpired. The Plasma 7 siege had undergone a metamorphosis, transfigures into an elegant dance of logistical prowess, omitting the brutal 72-hour urban conflict that morphed the metropolis into a silent sepulcher. "Forgive my interruption," Cass interjected, her tone slicing through Commander Thiles's polished chronicle as sharply as a laser beam. "This portrayal of the Kepler station crisis lacks the pivotal detail where the valiant defenders exploited the ventilation network to strategically outmaneuver the aggressors." The commander's countenance betrayed a sudden awareness of some undesirable discovery at his feet. The triumph at Kepler Station hinged on logistical brilliance and communication protocols, Cadet Thornfield. "The historical account you cite deviates from established records, which are frankly inaccurate," Cass asserted, with the nonchalant assurance of stating the obvious. For 6 harrowing days, defenders exploited maintenance tunnels, launching guerrilla assaults before the rescue fleet's arrival. Official reports suppressed this, painting the invaders as inept. The ensuing silence hung heavy. Commander Tile's facial chromatophores cycled through various blue hues, likely conveying displeasure in Valerian customs. The other cadet fixed Cass with the appalled fascination typically reserved for witnessing catastrophes. "I perceive," the commander stated, his tone hinting at unwanted insights. "Perhaps we ought to proceed with the tour." As the orientation continued with the practiced grace of a meticulously orchestrated routine, punctuated by Cass's inquiries that seemed to inflict instantaneous migraines upon the faculty. She pressed for an explanation as to why the Academy's combat simulations omitted environmental threats, questioned why the strategic doctrine prioritized safeguarding enemy infrastructure over securing definitive triumph. She voiced bewilderment that psychological warfare was a mere elective instead of a foundational necessity. Each query met escalating glares, her peers now viewing her as a diplomatic disaster incarnate. The tour culminated at the dormitory complex, room assignments dispensed with the solemnity of a state funeral. The Valerian cadets, unsurprisingly, secured the tower's premium upper floors with their expansive vistas and secluded meditation sanctuaries. The crystalline hierarchs were allocated to the geometric wing, where the architecture enhanced their refined sensibilities. The Gossamer Collective representatives were given sensory-reduced quarters to accommodate their specialized physiological needs. Cass received a ground-floor room in what the Academy euphemistically termed the Diverse Housing Wing, colloquially known as the Misfit Wing. Her room was compact, utilitarian, and adorned with all the military brig. One window offered a vista of the Academy's disposal plant, mirroring her grim outlook. Her solitary roommate situation was a blessing for all involved. The Academy decided her presence might pose cultural complexities for other cadets, a euphemism for no one wanted to share space with a spacecraft-lifting powerhouse. As twilight cloaked Serenitas Prime, daubing the heavens with rose and gold hues that might have been delightful had anyone been inclined to admire them, Cass meticulously unpacked her few functional possessions: durable clothing prioritizing resilience over style, multi-purpose personal items that could act as improvised defenses, and military history volumes likely absent from the Academy's collection. Barely settled, a chime announced Cadet Zephron Velak, prince and heir to a prominent military lineage. He stood, with the breezy confidence unique to those untouched by real-world adversity, shielded by familial privilege, he stated. Cadet Thornfield. His voice possessed the melodic resonance common to his kind, yet strangely devoid of genuine empathy. I felt a discussion was in order. Cass lounged against her doorway, radiating a deceptive calm, primed for a fight, yet yearning for peace. "What about your precious expectations, Zephron?" she probed. The prince's chromatophores swirled in intricate displays, likely carrying weighty meaning in his culture, but currently resembling a mood ring on the verge of a meltdown. "This venerable institute," he countered, "has steadfastly upheld its rigorous standards for generations. We have painstakingly forged something invaluable here, a sanctuary where society's brightest minds can master the noble art of strategic conflict." "Uh-huh," Kess responded, her tone hinting at polite acknowledgement, but with an undertone of skepticism. "Just so you know, we are not exactly adverse to your mere existence here," he perpetuated the falsehood. Honed by seamless experience, yet established protocols and revered customs necessitate deference. Were you to embrace your scholarship with a more docile attitude, your sojourn here might prove more agreeable. Cass scrutinized him with the detached observation of a biologist dissecting an intriguing new form of parasite. "Essentially, you're imploring me to silence my insights and spare you the humiliation of my superior understanding, aren't you?" Prince Zephron's chromatophores pulsed with an indiscernible mix of astonishment and annoyance. I dare say you'd gain tremendously by grasping your standing within the Academy's pecking order." "My place?" Cass echoed, musing. "Right, well, gratitude for the counsel. I shall afford it the full consideration it warrants." The prince's grin was as welcoming as frigid air. "Delighted we're in accord. You'll discover collaboration streamlines matters significantly." Post his departure, Cass sealed her door, positioned herself centrally within her modest quarters, and attended to the Institute's noises transitioning into its nightly rhythm through the thin walls. She overheard the melodic exchanges of Valerian cadets recounting their day. Crystalline hierarchs conversed via harmonic resonances, the very building pulsating with mathematical elegance. Distantly, the Gossamer Collective's subsonics formed a pervasive hum, a gentle cosmic interrogation. She retrieved a military history text, settling onto her Spartan bed to delve into its comprehensive asymmetric warfare tactics analysis, penned by a seasoned strategist, adept at leveraging adaptation and ingenuity to empower smaller forces against larger adversaries. The document was deemed too aggressive and unconventional by the Institute's curriculum. Ironically, that made it far more valuable than her formal education. As Cass observed, every historical example cited was rooted in. History is rife with instances where dominant forces grievously underestimated their adversaries, a consistently disheartening theme. Advanced technology and sheer numbers proved futile against an enemy defying conventional warfare. Closing the book, she gazed at the ceiling, bathed in the Institute's reassuring, artificial light, a beacon of safety untouched by true peril. Tomorrow, she'd commence lessons on waging war with utmost decorum. Encircled by cadets who saw her as a grave breach of decorum, the galaxy's military aristocracy had meticulously crafted their pristine domain, with its subtly perfumed atmosphere and sanitized portrayal of conflict. They had erected an academy where the most formidable indigenous species resolved territorial conflicts through elaborate dance, populated with the epitome of refined aggression their societies offered. Then, they extended an invitation to a human. Cass smirked in the shadows, a cryptic expression that would have amplified her new classmates' anxieties. She sensed her tenure at the Astral Command Institute would be a transformative experience for all involved. The Institute's founders selected Serenites Prime due to its history of benign evolution. They were on the cusp of realizing that peril can originate from unforeseen sources. Dawn crept onto Serenitas Prime, its amber hues seeping through Cass's window with the relentless subtlety of a tax inspector, an effect that would have been inspiring, yes, had she not been burning the midnight oil, devouring tactical manuals for 3 relentless hours. The Institute's breakfast chimes resonated through the dormitory complex with exquisite musicality, each note meticulously designed to subtly lure cadets from their slumber, a stark contrast to the jarring klaxons of active military bases. Cass, fully uniformed, navigated towards the dining hall, where the day's initial lesson in social dynamics was unfolding. The hall was a masterpiece of diplomatic architecture, boasting distinct zones tailored to each species' nutritional needs and cultural inclinations. The avian sector showcased graceful, elevated perches, promoting impeccable posture during their ritualistic dawn feasts. The crystalline hierarchs inhabited an area with optimized luminescence, amplifying their innate iridescent qualities, crafting kaleidoscopic displays of profound spiritual import, yet inevitably inducing disorientation in prolonged observers. The Gossamer Collective delegates convened near what seemed like a tear in reality. Their protective suits carving out a sanctuary of regulated air, allowing them to ingest sustenance without exposing alien life to harmful emissions. Species congregated in zones respecting boundaries that averted unintended cultural shifts. Cass retrieved her meal in an array curated by culinary staff, judged to be human-compatible, seemingly from a survey. Prison cafeterias, she scanned for a seat. The response manifested as piercing silence and avoiding eyes. Each table she neared abruptly became engrossed in vital discussions, compelling her to occupy a lone corner table mainly for surplus chairs. "Savoring our famed hospitality?" A voice like strangled wind chimes inquired. Professor Kickstall materialized, their ethereal collective form flickering between visibility and translucence. With a hint of amusement, "I presume you're acclimating smoothly to our quaint locale?" Cass, eyeing a protein concoction that tasted of remorse and synthetic vanilla, gestured to the hall. "Oh, nothing screams team bonding like quarantine." The professor chuckled. "Ah, you misunderstand. They're not isolating you. They're evaluating you. A profoundly perilous test they're hesitant to undergo," Cass grumbled, aggressively jabbing her protein paste. "And here I naively believed I was simply mastering the art of controlled demolition," Professor Cazale remarked, sinking into a self-adjusting chair. "Precisely that expertise instills dread. They've meticulously refined warfare for ages, avoiding messy conflicts. You symbolize the stark, unsettling truth. That conflict is essentially about obliterating the opposition, preventing their very existence." Before Cass could react, a disturbance erupted from the Valerian area. Prince Zephron had dramatically risen and was advancing with the deliberate pace of one issuing a formal declaration of hostilities, accompanied by a meticulously chosen group of fellow aristocrats. His morning attire was impeccable, his chromatophores displaying patterns undoubtedly proclaiming his distinguished heritage to those proficient in Varian color symbolism. "Captain Thornfield," he announced, his voice resonating throughout the abruptly silent dining area with the distinctness of a death knell. "I presume you found your lodgings adequate?" The deliberate pause hinted he knew precisely how meager her room was, starkly contrasting the lavish suites enjoyed by privileged students. Cass, barely glancing up from her meal, responded with the detached curiosity of someone observing an intriguing bug. Like a babe, albeit one reared by wolves and skilled in lethal improvisation. Several Vetherian nobles exchanged loaded glances, their disapproval palpable. Prince Zephron's grin was immutable, yet his chromatophores morphed into configurations likely signifying something sinister in 17 distinct dialects. "How utterly quaint," he purred. "I was contemplating whether you'd fancy participating in our AM calisthenics. We engage in venerable Vetherian combat arts, a polished methodology underscoring finesse, mastery, and the philosophical dimensions of warfare." Cass detected the piercing gaze of every species within the mess hall. This was unmistakably a trial, although its purpose, to demean or amuse, remained ambiguous. "The fate of the remaining cadets is uncertain," she remarked, finishing her protein paste with the forced cheerfulness of swallowing medicine. "I'm captivated by philosophy, especially where profound concepts intersect with real-world utility." And the morning workout unfolded within a stunning crystalline dome, offering an ideal training climate while mirroring the refined elegance of an upscale art space. The floor was crafted from an ingenious, adaptable substance, guaranteeing flawless grip for every species. Physiology. While the walls shimmered with holographic legends of martial arts masters across civilizations, Prince Zephyron and his cohort donned flowing practice robes of liquid silk. Their warm-up became a symphony of motion, a dance of perfect unity with cosmic energies. Their combat art embraced fluid transitions and graceful forms, redirecting an opponent's power rather than confronting it directly, embodying the sophisticated Valerian combat ethos. Prince Zephyron elucidated, showcasing a sequence of motions akin to transcendental yoga, emphasized the channeling of aggressive energies. We posit that genuine power resides in leveraging an adversary's ferocity. Cass observed with studied courtesy, as though deciphering an arcane tongue. The movements possessed undeniable artistry, demanding agility and poise that would astound elite gymnasts. The core tenet held merit: leverage an adversary's force, seek the easiest route, and triumph via finesse, not raw power. Yet it proved futile versus those indifferent to elegance while obliterating your bones. "Intriguing," she remarked post-demo. "May I attempt?" The ensuing display was less martial artistry, more a physics primer masked as cultural diplomacy, with Prince Zephyron moving with fluid grace. Fluid elegance marked his assaults, cascading like a river navigating obstacles, pinpointing the optimal angle. His method was immaculate, his posture a paragon of perfection, his combat philosophy utterly unspoiled. His posterior moved with the force of a self-aware locomotive, embracing aggression as a pastime. The initial clash spanned roughly 3 seconds. Prince Zephyron attempted a conventional diversion, designed to disrupt Cass's advance and expose her to a reprisal. Instead, he realized that deflecting the force of an entity forged in immense gravity, adept at evading predators that viewed humans as mere snacks, was akin to halting an avalanche with mindful meditation. Cass didn't circumvent his defenses. She shattered them with the relentless, inevitable march of entropy. Her riposte, a concise 6-inch punch, packed the kinetic punch to energize a minuscule star cruiser. Prince Zephyron's stance crumbled like a flimsy structure. Fueled by valiant aspirations, he briefly soared skyward, only for gravity to harshly reinstate his earthly dominion. The training dome hushed. Solely Prince Zephyron's graceless thud broke the silence, a stark contrast to his envisioned landing. His retinue surged forth, a flurry of worried support as he relearned the art of inhalation. Their melodic voices intertwined, a whirlwind of anxiety akin to delicate wind chimes amidst a raging tempest. "I surmise," Cass began, inspecting her reddened knuckles. With the meticulousness of one inspecting gear post-mission, subtle philosophical clashes surfaced as we strategized against Professor Kitchell. His form betrayed suppressed mirth. "Indeed," he quipped, "you've illuminated the chasm between armchair warfare and boots-on-the-ground reality." And the morning then unfolded with the strained atmosphere akin to diffusing an international crisis. Prince Zephyron had regained composure, albeit with a slightly bruised ego. Chromatophores continued displaying patterns, bordering on interspecies comms violations. His entourage meticulously avoided Cass, akin to a walking cataclysm. The day's academic agenda commenced with Professor Valar's strategic theory lecture, held in a hall mirroring a cathedral computer hybrid. This venerable Valerian scholar, whose groundbreaking works on sophisticated warfare permeated the galaxy, initiated his discourse with an almost funereal lack of enthusiasm. We dissect the doctrine of proportionate response. His voice, imbued with untested authority, declared civilized warfare hinges on meticulously calibrating military action to strategic goals, minimizing needless devastation. Holograms showcased proportional response, masterful campaigns where dominant forces won through judicious force, infrastructure and civilian populations while decisively achieving their military objectives. The battles were portrayed as testaments to calculated precision, boasting remarkably low casualty figures and swift, equitable resolutions, leaving all parties involved demonstrably more prosperous. Cass raised her hand. Professor Valar's expression suggested he had just discovered an unwelcome intrusion. "Yes, Cadet Thornfield." "What transpires," she inquired, "when your adversary disregards the principle of proportional response?" "I'm not sure I follow," he replied. "The doctrine inherently presupposes reciprocal adherence to the same set of rules," Cass clarified, "with the unwavering patience one might employ when elucidating fundamental arithmetic to a particularly slow learner. Child, but what if the adversary deems civilian deaths tolerable sacrifices? What if they're prepared to forfeit their own infrastructure for victory? What if they dismiss civility altogether?" The query lingered, a noxious miasma. Professor Valar's chromatophores shifted through blues, signaling profound unease and existential questioning. "Such contingencies," he stated, with the air of addressing utter absurdities, "lie beyond the civilized combat parameters dictate proportional reactions. But what if barbaric opponents eschew such restraint?" Cass's chilling query. "If ruthless tactics secure victory while you adhere to principles, what's your contingency?" A weighty silence ensued, the auditorium's cadets fixated, faces a mix of dread and captivation, as if Cass had proposed gravity's obsolescence and democracy's fallacy. "The contingency," Professor Valar articulated deliberately, "it's about upholding our core values, irrespective of the adversary's conduct. Civilization hinges on our steadfast refusal to stoop to barbarism." Cass retorted, "A noble sentiment, Professor. I'm certain the civilians, exploited as human shields, will find solace in your unwavering commitment to principles as they're being butchered by those unburdened by such ideals." "Would you still hold your values if your enemy had none? Comment your answer, principles or survival." The remainder of the lecture unfolded in a palpable hush, with Professor Valar meticulously steering clear of subjects that might elicit further inquiries from the tenacious human cadet, dissect the core tenets of established galactic war strategies. The afternoon featured cutting-edge combat simulations, empowering cadets to hone strategic prowess within immersive holographic arenas. These provided secure, regulated environments rooted in pivotal historical clashes. Simulations were architected to instill syntactical reasoning, shielding students from the deep psychological wounds of real warfare. Cass discovered herself grouped with 3 aloof Vitharian cadets who regarded her as volatile, unpredictable ordnance. Their commanding officer, a petty aristocrat, named Thyrix Velkin, with unnerving civility akin to addressing volatile minds, elucidated their mission. "We are fortifying a pivotal stronghold against an overwhelming adversary." He gestured towards the holographic terrain enveloping their position. "Our mandate is to secure this elevated terrain pending reinforcements, minimizing losses while maximizing strategic influence." The simulation commenced flawlessly. The enemy advanced in impeccable synchronicity and formation. Anticipating the enemy's advance, Thyrix masterfully positioned his squad, establishing interlocking fields of fire, meticulously guiding the opposition into designated ambush points, maximizing resource efficiency and minimizing vulnerability. A brilliant tactical maneuver that would have been flawlessly executed had the enemy adhered to conventional strategy. Sarah observed the deployment for nearly half a minute before expressing her reservations. "They'll outmaneuver us through the canyon." "The canyon's impenetrable," Therick asserted, radiating unwavering confidence, like one unfamiliar with human engineering's nuances. I declared, "Terrain analysis definitively reveals an approach far too precipitous for a successful assault." Cass retorted, "Terrain analysis presumes the enemy values their soldiers. What if they're amenable to accepting substantial casualties for superior positioning?" Tick elucidated with measured patience. No competent commander would needlessly squander troops when viable alternatives exist. Regrettably, the adversary proved disappointingly conventional. Until their assault fractured, a third surged through the impassable ravine. This bold feint utterly blindsided the defenders, transforming their meticulously crafted stronghold into a lethal gauntlet. "Well," Cass remarked, as simulated enemy combatants swarmed their location, "that was quite the learning experience." The digital wargame concluded in a strained, uneasy quiet, the kind that descends after truly epic debacles. Thyrix fixed his gaze on the tactical display, his face reflecting a profound bewilderment, as if the very foundations of his reality had been brutally assaulted by cold, hard facts. "There's a glitch in the Matrix," he asserted, grasping at straws. "No sane military power would willingly endure such staggering losses for such negligible gains." Casu retorted with a sharp, incisive question. "Define sane." Because from my decidedly deceased perspective, they flawlessly executed their objective, leaving us all 6 feet under, seems undeniably rational to them. And so, the day's ultimate lesson was served, alone, over a solitary dinner, as Cass found herself, yet again, dining in isolation while the other cadets kept their cautious distance. The social isolation was starting to resemble a preventative quarantine rather than mere ostracism, as if classmates feared contamination from her innovative ideas. Professor Kixel materialized beside her table with characteristic dramatic flair, their form fluidly transitioning between states, seemingly amused by the unfolding events. "I presume your inaugural classes proved exceptionally insightful," they inquired, settling into a chair which promptly adapted to their unconventional physique. "Undoubtedly," Cass responded, poking listlessly at her meal, mirroring her breakfast apathy. Nothing beats dedicating 8 hours elucidating the perils of assumptions to individuals whose views have remained unchallenged. "Ah," the professor chuckled, their form shimmering with mirth. "Precisely the crux. Their assumptions endured unchallenged as they've proven accurate for 4 centuries. The galaxy enjoyed remarkable tranquility until it abruptly didn't," Cass elucidated. "Harmony reigns when consensus prevails, yet invariably, ambition trumps tranquility. When that threshold is crossed," Professor Kickstall remarked, their voice tinged with an intriguing fascination, "the galaxy shall confront the stark reality of its military doctrines. Are they grounded in robust principles, or merely built upon comforting delusions?" Cass surveyed the mess hall, observing the other cadets engrossed in refined dialogues concerning sophisticated warfare, their debates imbued with an academic assurance born from the absence of real-world experience. "I sense," she remarked, The trial will arrive more rapidly than anticipated. The professor's visage subtly transformed into what resembled a smile. Were it composed of material capable of genuine emotional expression? Precisely, he responded, and I anticipate they shall find the outcome enlightening. As twilight embraced the Institute, Cass retreated to her room, increasingly conscious of residing in a meticulously crafted haven, shielding its occupants from the brutal truths of a frequently hostile cosmos. Her fellow cadets weren't merely apprehensive of her, they were intimidated by her embodiment of the unsettling possibility that their cherished theories and principles could prove insufficient against an individual unconstrained by their conventional combat ethics. She sank onto her Spartan bed. Delving into military history, this text explores the psychological dimensions of war and the disintegration of military doctrine against unorthodox strategies. It showcases instances where dominant forces were humbled by adversaries who defied conventional warfare. Beyond, the Institute's lights shimmered, echoing a legacy of interstellar collaboration where diplomacy and structured conflict fostered harmony. A profoundly elegant system. Built upon a bedrock of mutual respect and congruent values, it would function flawlessly until someone opted to disregard the established rules. Cass offered a wry smile and flipped the page, pondering how long it would take for the galaxy to relearn that peace wasn't the inherent state of the cosmos. Rather, it was a fleeting anomaly, necessitating unwavering vigilance to perpetuate it. The Institute was architected to forge officers capable of upholding that peace through astute strategy and refined warfare. Yet Cass harbored a suspicion that what they desperately required was a champion to prevail when civilization crumbled, admit it or not. Barely 2 weeks into her role at Astral Command, Cass accomplished the unthinkable, uniting 17 species in the shared belief that she was a disaster in progress. This unity was strangely beautiful, showcasing galactic cooperation against a truly worrying problem. The illustrious annual Excellence Ceremony arrived with the solemn grandeur of a state funeral. Intertwined with a spiritual renaissance, the Institute's Grand Hall morphed into an extraordinary celebration of intergalactic unity, as delegations from every corner of the cosmos convened to honor their most exceptional military leaders. Dazzling holographic banners highlighted the remarkable achievements of esteemed cadets, their triumphs articulated in 17 distinct languages and 3 complex mathematical frameworks. Prince Zephyron, the Cynosure, resembled an impeccably crafted testament to noble dominance, his ceremonial. Robes were crafted from threads worth more than planets' yearly defense budgets. His chromatophores flashed patterns needing advanced xenobiology degrees to decipher. He'd spent 2 weeks masterminding a subtle war against cash, tactics that would awe ancient strategists. The campaign was brilliantly sophisticated. Untraceable equipment failures, social events with mysteriously missing invitations. Targeting select circles, study groups abruptly filled upon a certain applicant's arrival. Vital academic resources vanished from libraries precisely when required. It was calculated psychological manipulation, executed with surgical precision and relentless animosity, crafted to isolate and demoralize, leaving no traceable evidence linking back to its mastermind. Prince Zephyron had elevated social rejection to a sophisticated art, skillfully leveraging the Institute's power structure as a tool against those unfamiliar with its intricate regulations. To defend herself, tragically for the prince, his target was forged in a crucible where every element, from the tempestuous skies to the predatory fauna, relentlessly sought her demise. Compared to thriving on a lethal planet with mildly toxic air and weakly acidic rain, engaging with entitled aristocrats felt like a soothing getaway. The ceremony commenced with grandiloquent pronouncements honoring the esteemed customs of sophisticated combat and the promising horizons of interspecies synergy, as prominent military dignitaries orated. The discourse emphasized the crucial role of galactic harmony, achievable through ingenious strategy and astute diplomacy. Esteemed scholars lauded the Academy's contribution in cultivating officers who grasped that genuine power derived from intellect over brutality. Cass, among her fellow cadets in immaculate attire, absorbed the presentations that honored the Academy's essence. The speakers depicted a galaxy where disputes found resolution through the judicious employment of power, where brilliant foresight vanquished all obstacles, and where the savage anarchy of primal combat had yielded to the refined exactitude of sophisticated military strategy. Stirring words, yet undermined by the utter lack of combat experience of those who spoke them. Individuals who'd never confronted adversaries, unwilling to adhere to the same rules of engagement. The acknowledgement segment of the event progressed with customary orderliness, each cadet summoned to obtain accolades for scholastic distinction, strategic ingenuity, and leadership aptitude. Prince Zephron amassed his commendations with the innate elegance of one accustomed to acclaim. His triumphs heralded before the assembled dignitaries with a solemnity typically befitting sacred rituals. Then arrived the instant that military scholars would later dissect as the quintessential illustration of hubris preceding ruin and arrogance preceding downfall. The Strategic Innovation Award. The commander's voice resonated through the hall with ceremonial weight. Honors the cadet who has exhibited extraordinary ingenious creativity and tactical problem-solving. The accolade was widely anticipated for Prince Zephron. Everyone foresaw it and meticulously prepared their suitably exuberant reactions. His tactical simulations had been flawlessly textbook. His strategic assessments had captivated the faculty, and his aristocratic heritage virtually assured acknowledgement. Instead, the name reverberating through the auditorium belonged to another altogether, Carter Cassandra Thornfield, celebrated for her unorthodox resolutions to the Kepler station predicament, and her groundbreaking methodology in asymmetric engagements. Principles. The ensuing silence was akin to the emptiness of deep space. Prince Ephron's chromatophores shifted through hues that likely contravened numerous interspecies. Communication protocols, as the assembled dignitaries grappled with the reality that a human had received public acclaim for military prowess at the galaxy's premier institution. She advanced to receive the honor, displaying the same resolve she exhibited when dismantling Prince Zephron's formidable defenses just a fortnight prior. The crystal. The trophy felt unexpectedly weighty, its intricate engravings a testament to strategic mastery across 17 diverse cultures. "Thank you," she proclaimed, her voice resonating through the hushed hall. "I dedicate this honor to all who illuminated the path, revealing that true innovation often lies in transcending the very constraints that define a challenge." And it was then that Prince Zephron resolved on a course that would elevate him from a mere historical footnote to a stark warning against the perils of unchecked ego. He ascended from his chair with the honed elegance of one whose actions were meticulously crafted from infancy, his ornate garments cascading like shimmering stardust as he neared the dais where Cass held her prize. The captivated audience of officials observed with the tense anticipation of onlookers at a gladiatorial spectacle, realizing they were on the cusp of witnessing an unforgettable moment. "Surely there's been an error," Prince Zephyron declared, his voice radiating the unwavering confidence of one unaccustomed to dissent. The Strategic Innovation Award has historically honored cadets who exemplify mastery of refined military doctrine. This candidate has displayed utter disregard for the core tenets this institution upholds. Commander Thiel's face conveyed a profound headache, one that necessitated both strong medication and a serious reevaluation of his career path. Prince Zephyron, perhaps we might— "Let's deliberate this confidentially," the prince declared, his chromatophores now ablaze with patterns resembling a catastrophic aurora. "This demands a public reckoning. The galaxy's military elite are observing, and they're entitled to know our recognition standards at this academy." He confronted Cass, his stance exuding the self-assured outrage that only inherited wealth and lineage could foster. "You assert novel tactical solutions, but all you've showcased is raw aggression masquerading as military strategy. Your unorthodox tactics are simply the brutal impulses of a species yet to master honorable warfare." The Grand Hall was hushed, a silence akin to hallowed rituals or devastating catastrophes. Cass stood, award in hand, her polite attentiveness morphing into a gaze that would make even the most ruthless predator question its existence. "Your being here," Prince Ziff's voice amplified, imbued with the fervor of a meticulously rehearsed oration, "utterly undermines the core values of this esteemed institution. You embody the very antithesis of ethical combat, and your accolade for military prowess is a profound affront to every honorable officer who has ever served." The prince's address was escalating towards its zenith, his illustrious lineage and unparalleled breeding converging to craft oratory that would have captivated venerable senators and moved contemporary diplomats to tears of awe. He was delivering the kind of masterful performance that epitomized aristocratic dominance, showcasing why bloodlines held significance and validating that some individuals were inherently destined to govern. Precisely at that juncture, he committed the devastating misstep that would forever etch his name in galactic annals. Cass was about to retort to his indictments, parting her lips to unleash what undoubtedly would have been a scathing remark. Regarding the interplay of theoretical knowledge and practical application, her retort would have been utterly devastating in its accuracy, articulated with a chilling intellectual dominance that could shatter even the loftiest aristocratic egos. Yet in that precise moment, Prince Zephyron opted to exemplify how esteemed lineage can occasionally engender remarkably flawed decisions. The reverberation of the slap cascaded through the Grand Hall, resembling a thunderous echo within a sacred cathedral, its resonance heightened by meticulously engineered acoustics intended to amplify every syllable uttered during ceremonial events. The impact, comparatively subdued by Valerian customs, resembled a curt dismissal intended to quell a subordinate who'd misconstrued their role in the established hierarchy. Regrettably for Prince Zephyron, Cassandra Thornfield had been tempered in the crucible of a world devoid of leniency, her grasp of suitable reactions molded by survival imperatives that would have disintegrated Vatharian intellectuals. The riposte arrived with gravitational certainty and surgical accuracy. Cass's rebuttal transpired in roughly 0.3 seconds, revolutionizing numerous medical fields. Textbooks idealized bone strength before utter collapse. Her movements were fluid, accurate, and performed with such effortless skill, it implied she'd deliberately restrained herself previously against Institute combat protocol. Prince Zephyr's arm crackled loudly, a bizarre symphony of potato chips and wind chimes shattering. The ensuing quiet was unnerving, prompting many species representatives to suspect translator failure. Prior to the prince's ensuing pronouncements confirming flawless functionality, his shriek acquainted the gathered dignitaries with Vitharian expressions of agony not typically addressed in diplomatic curricula. The prince unearthed that compound fractures offered remarkably insightful lessons, delivering instant, exhaustive awareness of aristocratic skeletal systems' structural vulnerabilities when exposed to lethal biomechanics. Medical teams manifested with a swiftness born of beings accustomed to, primed perfectly for such a crisis, though emergency procedures were conceived for controlled incidents, not on-the-spot dissections. Prince Zephron's ravaged limb rested within a stabilizing field as medics weighed if the wound meant total destruction or simply career implosion. The Great Hall exploded in a frenzy rivaling historic war zones. Valerian envoys roared for swift retribution for the attack on their esteemed delegate, as human diplomats desperately sought legal precedents. Databases to ascertain if self-defense provisions were applicable to ritualistic slapping encounters. The Crystal Sentinels emitted resounding frequencies, mathematically quantifying their dismay, causing cognitive dissonance. Cass remained, clutching her trophy, displaying the same impassive demeanor as when presented it, as though the preceding brutality was a trivial distraction, not a geopolitical crisis necessitating generations to resolve. The council assembled within 72 hours for a colloquially known, amicable discussion. Investigation meticulously documented 17 distinct species grappling with a PR catastrophe while averting an interstellar war. The proceedings, broadcast galaxy-wide, became the most viewed educational program since the renowned 2387 Physics Expo. Security footage offered chilling clarity on the event sequence, revealing weeks of calculated harassment by faculty-ignored Prince Zephron, desperately seeking a reaction to validate his biases, culminating in the precise instant when aristocratic privilege clashed with death world instincts. "The evidence is irrefutable," declared Magistrate Valem, her venerable voice echoing with the gravitas of arbitrating interspecies conflicts predating faster-than-light travel. Prince Zephron instigated physical engagement absent cause or lawful basis. Cadet Thornfield's reaction, though forceful, aligns with self-preservation parameters according to human cultural norms. The Valerian delegation's objections were dismissed. An awkward hush fell upon the assembly of alien delegates, each realizing their own legal codes held analogous loopholes regarding unwarranted aggression. The galaxy's dedication to inclusivity fostered a judicial landscape where all interpretations of justifiable force held equal weight, even those leading to shattered bones. Prince Zephron's banishment was proclaimed with the solemn grandeur typically reserved for declarations of war or the forging of galactic trade alliances. Cass's nascent military aspirations were abruptly curtailed. Her prestigious heritage proved inadequate to excuse the irrefutable truth that aggression remained aggression, irrespective of pedigree. She incurred an official censure and compulsory attendance in cultural awareness seminars, orchestrated with palpable glee by Professor Kickstall. These tutorials concentrated on elucidating that not every species embraced humanity's nonchalant perspective on brutality, and that, occasionally, restraint was judicious. The reaction to the affront transcended mere reflexive retaliation. Half a year later, the galaxy had pivoted to novel outrages and escalating disputes, yet the Thornfield episode endured as a celebrated anecdote within military circles throughout known space. Cass excelled academically, securing her appointment as the inaugural human officer within the Galactic Defense Corps' unified command framework. Prince Zephron's limb mended with enduring limitations, a perpetual testament to his encounter with a species that defied expectations. Acknowledging elite immunity to physical laws, he retreated from the limelight. Whispers hinted at a newfound mastery of theoretical combat strategy, prioritizing evasion of direct conflict with deadly extraterrestrial races. The Institute enacted progressive measures tackling discrimination and fostering inclusivity, yet the cafeteria's unpalatable cuisine remained a persistent challenge for human consumption. Certain issues, it appeared, defied even the most sweeping educational overhauls. The galaxy gleaned a crucial insight regarding the disparity between refined conduct and a sophisticated aptitude for aggression. This nuance, though seemingly slight, became exceptionally significant when interacting with species that had progressed in environments where civility was discretionary, yet existence was imperative. Occasionally, the most enlightening encounters originate from the most atypical mentors. Like, share, and comment if you believe strength without wisdom is just noise in the void.